This is News at Prime. Let's pick up on this story now. The case against 5 people allegedly linked to a Russian mercenary recruitment scheme has been postponed to next week Monday. SABC radio presenter Nonkululeko Mantula, Thulani Mazibuko, Xolani Ntuli, Sphamandla Shabalala and Sfiso Mapena have been charged with contravening the regulation of Foreign Military Assistance Act. 4 of them were arrested at OR Tambo International Airport while allegedly traveling to Russia. They are suspected of enlisting to fight in the war in Ukraine. Now, the Hawks have arrested a 5th suspect yesterday as part of a widening investigation into recruitment activities allegedly led by Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla.
The suspects were arrested between Thursday and Saturday following an incident that happened at OR Tambo Airport where the members of OR Tambo SAPS noticed suspicious people who were at a boarding gate, and they managed to contain them, which followed an interview. During that interview, it was amassed that these people were allegedly on their way to Russia, wherein it is purported that they will be part of the war that's going on there. With regards to the charges, that we will also be interrogating, and when we again convene, what is important is that for one to be able to go fight a war that is not with their own country, there is certain processes that need to be followed, and those were not followed.
All right, let's continue the conversation on this now, and we speak to defense analyst Ricardo Teixeira, who talks to us about this. Ricardo, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. What should South Africans make of what is going on in South Africa at the moment? So I think there are 5 people in total now that are in custody. Their case, as you've just heard, it will return to court on Monday. However, there are those who are already in Russia, and they say they were there or they were sent there under false pretenses, but now they're desperate to come back home. Why is it that authorities were unable to intercept that first trip of those that are stuck in the Russia-Ukraine war right now?
I think the fact that the first group was not found out until they were in trouble already in Russia is a bit of an intelligence failure, but I can commend the Hawks for catching the second group before they were able to get on the flight. And it's truly an alarming situation, and I think it's a multitude of factors here. It's we have very high youth unemployment in South Africa, and we also couple this with the fact that the Russian government has been offering large cash incentives for volunteers to come fight in their unjust war against Ukraine. And it's a bit of a recipe for disaster, especially when you then consider that South Africa seems to think that Russia is our friend. And I think that this is a very, very clear situation where we can see that Russia does not care about us.
Yeah, you talk about a large cash incentive from Russia. And so, who is cashing in? We heard in the Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla matter, but these are media reports, so I don't want us to talk about that as fact. But we can't ignore the reportage around it. 34 million is what has been bandied about. Do you believe that indeed monies that high are being paid by someone in Russia in order to recruit South Africans to go and fight in a war that this country is not even involved in?
Yes, it is possible, and it's within the realm of what I've seen being offered. The Russians currently, the offers differ from whichever province you are coming from in Russia, but they can range anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000. It's just a sign-up bonus. There's also incentives for if you are wounded or if you are killed for your family. But again, it differs. There's the initial payout from the Russian Ministry of Defense. There's their incentive, but also in provinces where they are looking to recruit higher numbers in order to refrain from recruiting just specifically from one province and to kind of even out the recruitment burden. Some provinces are offering additional incentives, but again, that differs from province to province. So, I mean, if someone was being offered $40,000, it's quite a bit of money once you convert that to rands, and if you times it by 17, it's not exactly 34 million, but it's not far off.
Sure. And so, who are the people cashing in here? Because if I'm going to sign up to such a program, the possible realities is that I may not make it back to South Africa. However, something has to be written somewhere that at least my next of kin will be able to get those monies. But I know that this discussion is actually, we shouldn't even go to such an area because this is illegal in the first place. And so authorities have got to get the kingpins behind this. The Hawks today, commenting on this, were careful not to link the one element of the people that are already in the Russia-Ukraine war. They've been careful not to link Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla to the current case of the 5 that appeared in court today. Do you think it's possible that we may be dealing with one syndicate here, but they're trying very hard to not be detected?
It's possible, but we just don't know at this point. We're going to have to see where the case goes. But it's also possible that we're dealing with multiple networks. It's one of those things we don't know at the moment. It's not outside of the realm of possibility that there could be more than one network trying to cash in on this. Normally, from the protocol that the Russians have been following is that the person who signs up gets that bonus. Whereas in the allegations against Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla is that she would have had the money, and then the gentlemen that went over that are linked to her were then led out on false pretenses and were not aware of any of this. But again, it could be one network, it could be multiple networks. We just don't know at the moment. But I think we're going to have to let the Hawks do their job in that respect.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla in a moment. Let's go beyond South Africa's borders for a moment. I know of a case that we reported on, I think it was last year, if I am correct in my recollection of that case. A young man who we understand was studying in Russia, but somehow found himself on the wrong side of the law in Russia and therefore was in prison. He died in the front lines of this war, and his body had to be repatriated to Zambia. Do you think that countries beyond South Africa are also possibly dealing with the same issue?
Yes, there have been several countries that have uncovered such recruiting schemes. A notable one has been India. Another big one has been Nepal. Of course, we've seen Tanzania and Zambia. There's also been reports of people from Venezuela going over, and Colombia. And this is indicative of the manpower shortage that the Russian military has, and that it's starting to search overseas. I mean, in the Kursk Oblast, they sought assistance from 15,000 North Korean soldiers. So again, this is not a once-off. I think my biggest surprise here is that it's taken this long for South Africans to get drawn into this, considering the war is approaching its 4th anniversary now. My biggest surprise is that it didn't happen sooner, because we've seen it happen with other neighboring African countries. We've seen it happen again with India. There's a very large notable scheme in India and Nepal. So this is not a once-off, and this is not a singularity.
Yeah. All right. Let's conclude the conversation then, and let's come back to Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla and those that she is possibly accused of conducting this with. The 5 people that are in custody right now, they were caught, at least 4 of them, at OR Tambo International Airport. And the understanding is that they were about to make their way to Russia. The person who is at least alleged is the lady that's walking in right now, this SABC presenter, radio presenter. She is understood to be possibly the recruiter. Now, they are behind bars as we speak, awaiting for their bail application. But there already is a case of those, as we've spoken earlier, who are in Russia already. In fact, they are somewhere in Donbass. This is the border between Russia and Ukraine, one of the regions there where this war is being fought. They are scared for their lives. And they are talking to say that they were promised monies and they are quite clear who the recruiters were. Why is it that authorities are not acting on Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla? Might we be dealing with that old scenario in South Africa of preferential treatment based on who your last name is?
If I can just correct you there, the Donbass is not a border area, but it is occupied territory that is internationally recognized as part of Ukraine. But
yes.
To your question as to why she's not been arrested, she's facing other charges already. She's got other legal issues that she has to deal with. I think it's up to the authorities as to what their actions are going to be. I can't speculate on what their decisions are, but if we had to surmise, the fact that she's already involved in one case means she's probably under some sort of agreement that she's not going to leave or that she's being monitored, and maybe they don't feel that she's a flight risk at the moment. But there are so many different reasons as to what is going on. It could be that they're just trying to see where the case plays out and what's going on. But again, that's somewhere where we're going to have to let the police do their job.
Ricardo Teixeira, thank you very much for your time and analysis tonight. It is a worrying development in our country. And again, as you started at the very beginning of this conversation, that it is possibly a failure of intelligence for those that already find themselves in Russia.